Welcome everyone to the first Spectre 3 customer build that we're putting up on the channel. We are working on many more that you'll see soon, and we've done a lot of Spectre 3 builds at this point for prototyping. I did a personal Spectre 3 build that's sitting next to me right now. I'm using it for editing this video, for final prototyping and testing. So yeah, this is certainly not the first system that we've done. It just happened to be the first that's going up on the channel. So what has changed with the new case? I'm only going to go over this very briefly. I'll cover more in future build logs and videos, and obviously all of the information is on the website. The real question is what hasn't changed, because we decided it was time for a big change with 3, and there's actually nothing remaining from the original designs, Spectre 1 and 2, aside from the overall idea. So everything has changed. But some of the main things are that the case is now larger in all dimensions, and this is mainly for official compatibility with XL-ATX, larger GPUs, but just to put a larger margin around all of the components. Because when you were getting to the edge of the compatibility on Spectre 1 and 2, for example with 60mm radiators, things were starting to get a bit tight. It was hard to get the fittings in. It started to become a bit challenging to build. So none of these problems are there anymore. The cable routing has changed. You can now fit 3 8-pin EPS, and you can run the EPS to either side of the motherboard. The loop routing has changed. On Spectre 1 and 2, to get the air out, you actually had to switch off the pump. You don't have to do this anymore, and the fluid volume of the reservoir and the manifold in general is a lot larger, making the loop easier to bleed. The structure of the case has changed. It's now far stronger because everything attaches to the legs, which are extremely thick, whereas before most of the parts attached to the acrylic to the manifold, and then the legs attached to the manifold separately. There's actually a lower part count now, particularly with the metal parts, but there's a lot more complexity in each of the parts, a lot more machining detail. We had a lot of fun and the opportunity to get really creative with the aesthetics for Spectre 3. You can see here I'm doing some of the original sketches for the original concept for the aesthetics of the case, and the idea was to remove curves altogether because we felt like that was making Spectre 1 and 2 look quite dated, and to go for sharp angles. And also, surprisingly, a bit of a lack of symmetry. So we still certainly have symmetry. We're using the same angles over and over again, but the reservoir is a good example of this, the shape of the reservoir. We're not copying the shape of the top to the bottom, for example, like we did with Spectre 1 and 2. And the inspiration, it always comes from everywhere, but particularly the inspiration for the aesthetics for Spectre 3 came from Cyberpunk, and I have to give credit to Deus Ex, which was a major inspiration for this case. So you can see the customer elected for Bits Power brass tube, and this is the black sparkle version to go with the black sparkle fittings, and it's 16 millimeters. It's the first time I've used this tube, and I'm usually not a fan of tube that you can't bend. If you bend this tube, it cracks the plating, because you have to use fittings for the bends, and you end up using a lot more fittings. But I was able to build this loop in such a way where I didn't use many more fittings than I normally would for a Spectre 3 build with bent acrylic tube. And surprisingly, the parallel configuration that I did between the CPU and GPU really helped with this. So I was happy with how this loop turned out. You can hardly see any of it. It's super direct and clean. The customer also wanted the temp sensor display on the top right and the flow indicator on the left there. So yeah, I actually ended up having a lot of fun with this tube. So I'm filling the loop now, and I'm using Mayhem's X1 Clear. And I had to cycle the pump 3 times before the coolant was fully circulating, and it took about 1.2 liters of fluid. So the components for this build, we have the Intel Core i9-10850K, 16 gigabytes of Corsair Vengeance memory, an MSI Ventus 3090 with the Bizkey water block, because that's the only one that was actually available at the time, the Silverstone Strider Platinum 1000 watt, the Asus ROG Strix Z490A Gaming, a Western Digital M.2, and interestingly a 1 terabyte 2.5 inch Western Digital hard drive. The radiators are EKPE, 40 millimeters thick. You can see the huge margin that is left for the radiators. The custom cables in all of our builds are built by us from hand, from the ground up, from MDPCX products. And we don't just customize the core component cables, we customize all of them. And for me, this is an extremely important aspect when building a system, because there is nothing to hide. It doesn't matter where you look down in a corner, up behind the radiators, you are not going to see excess wires bundled up, and you are not going to see bare wires either. Sometimes a customer will send us a cable kit, so this customer went for cable mod, and this means that only the core component cables are sleeved and customized to length. The customer didn't go for the full option on this build. So the cables on this build will not be up to the standard you usually see in our builds, but we ended up actually doing some of it for free because I just cannot handle bundling up, fan wires and pump cables. You just end up with such a mess. You can hide it down in the PSU shroud on Spectre 3, and you can make it look decent, but even if you can't see it, it just doesn't feel right. soon.